Hello, Lily.
Hi, Natalie. Thank you so much for having me.
I know. I'm so happy. We've been talking about you coming on this podcast forever, I think. This is like a long time, long overdue, but I'm so happy that we're doing it. And by the way, I just realized that this is the last podcast of 2021. So we're like closing up the year with you. And I'm so happy that it's with you because I know that you have so much to share and you're so inspiring and so empowering that I'm so excited that our listeners are going to get to hear your story, hear your journey, and that everything that you have to share with us. But first, what I want to do is I want to read your bio because I want everyone to know who you are and who they're going to learn from today. Okay? Good. So Lily Aronin is the CEO of Miss Thrive Well. She's a wife and mom of five red-headed football lovers. We have to talk about that. 15 years ago, she made Aliyah and is dedicated to creating holistic solutions of health and energy for Jewish women globally. She's been featured on Tel Aviv TV and radio, Israeli national news, and the Times of Israel, just to name a few, which is already very impressive. She focuses on aligning Jewish values with optimal health and stopping busy working mothers from gaining weight on Shabbat. Lily coaches women on how they can love their reflection without giving up the things that they love. I love this. I just love it. It's just so you, right? It's to the point, it's simple, it's true, it's authentic, it's perfect. So there's so many things that come up when we hear your bio. The first thing is, what do you mean by football lovers? I want to hear more about your five red-headed football lovers. Tell us more about that.
Oh, well, it's amazing that when we're passionate about something as parents, our kids pick up on it and run with it. And my husband is a crazy, passionate American football lover, player, watcher. And not only does my son, did he coach my son in like Pee Wee football and create a kids league basically so he could coach him, all of his then three daughters like fell in love with it because it's like amazing time with their dad. And he's so passionate about it, so it was infectious. And so now I have girls on the national team and who are into football and playing football and watching football. And I can't get away from football. Football runs the world in my house.
I love it because we thought that you were the passionate one, but apparently your husband is also passionate. So it's like a whole family of passionate, right?
I don't think I could be with somebody that wasn't passionate.
That's true. Knowing you, that's so true. So, Lily, I want to take this opportunity. Obviously, we know each other. It's not a big surprise, and that we work together. And so there are things that I know, but some things I don't know, and that's why I'm saying, yeah, I want to ask Lily about this. So, I want to ask about how it all started. Like, if you had to pinpoint this time, if you had an aha moment or if you have an epiphany, like when did you love your love story with being healthy, being, wellness, taking care of our body? When did this all start? Can you take us back in history on when this all started?
Yeah, it was a hobby first. I think like our best passions are, and I struggled with weight through my childhood, and I had this amazing seminary year in Israel where I lost 30 pounds while everybody else was gaining weight around me because for once, I wasn't focused on anybody else or grades or anything. And we were just there to learn. And I was just feeding my soul and focusing on relationships with these teachers and these new friends and without this pressure of academics and without the pressure of other things going on, and without my parents and family and all of these other dramas. And I taught myself to cook in our little stove in the dorm, and everyone would want to come and try my stir fries. I mean, like nothing fancy, but I kind of started in that line and it fell in love with psychology. And so I went to get a degree in psychology and I worked at a gym while I was getting my degree. And I just slowly just became a hobby to integrate health for myself. I didn't talk to really anybody else about it. And it was I got married really young at 19. So I'm starting to cook for my husband, and I never had done anything like that before. And so the books that I chose were, Dr. Weil's holistic nutrition cookbooks. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to learn how to cook, I might as well continue, start how I want to continue. And so I just taught myself, and it was my hobby. And when we made Aliyah, I gave up my dream of becoming a clinical psychologist. And I had 4 babies, and all my friends would ask me questions like, what are you doing? How are you exercising and like walking every day? And your kids eat like vegetables, and what's happening for you? And they asked me to just like help a few of them out. And that's kind of how it started. And the company I was working for at the time, was working for a corporate company, was sold. And I knew I had a year before I was going to be out of the job. And I had to take a risk. And I chose to go get certified as a holistic nutritionist and launch my passion into my business. And that was 10 years ago.
Wow. I love this. I love when the passion becomes the business, because that's the real thing. That's really like when you know that you are doing the right thing. It's because you love what you're doing what you love, and you would have done it anyway, right? Eating healthy and helping your friends. And that's usually how it starts, right? It's usually like we, find ourselves answering questions to friends, and then we're like, well, maybe I should make money out of this, right? Not just doing it for free, right? So that's amazing.
I did a lot of it for free at the beginning.
Yeah, well, we all do. Because that's how we also, see that this is really what we love. So it's also a great way to check. And so then you decide to become a holistic nutritionist. And I would love for you to tell us, what is the difference between a simple nutritionist, I would say, or I don't know how you call it, like a regular nutritionist?
Dietitian, let's say a registered dietitian.
Right.
And a holistic nutritionist.
Yeah, because for me, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to be holistic. My question is, what is the difference? Like, what do people get when they come to you that is the holistic part that other people might not have?
So if you go to a registered dietitian, they focus on disease control and helping people. Most of their training is about disease. People with cancer, people with severe diabetes, like that's really their focus and what they're trained to do in hospital settings and clinical settings, to create meal plans. Like, here, let me give you a meal plan. And now you work your life. You are in a state of crisis. You're going to work your life around your meal plan. And a holistic nutritionist says, this is preventative care. This is to make your life better. What we're going to do is we're going to take your life and we're going to find out what you truly want, and we're going to optimize your nutrition to get you there, so that because you're not in crisis, we have time to listen and look at your lifestyle and find alignment between who you really want to be and the skills, strategies, mindsets you need to really be fueled physically and emotionally and mentally to do that.
Wow, I love that. So it's not really only about eating or losing weight. It's so much more than that. It's really reaching your goals and becoming the person that you want to become, right? Because usually when people hear about nutritionists, they think, oh, I don't want to lose weight, so I don't need a nutritionist. But you're talking to much more. So what is the difference? Like, why would people come to a holistic nutritionist if it's not to lose weight? What do they gain out of this?
So a holistic nutritionist, whether you want to lose weight or not, is going to take a look at what you're eating and say, like for me, my Shabbat program is to stop gaining weight. First of all, let's stop the destructive behaviors, because an ideal weight's going to look different on everybody. There's no perfect number. It's always a range. It's always genetic. There's a bunch of factors. But if you're gaining weight, then your life is not in alignment with your future. And unfortunately, it's a fact. I mean, we can't say otherwise. It's simply a fact. If you are gaining weight, something is wrong, unless you are pregnant. Something is out of alignment in your body. So we want to stop what's out of alignment, and then we want to look at what we can do to create a better relationship with food, which we all need. We all have a lot of baggage around food and our bodies that we pick up from people around us, that we pick up from well-meaning parents, communities, especially in the Jewish community, where, no matter what level, I have clients of every level of observance, and people whose only connection to Shabbat is that they have bagels Friday and Saturday morning with their family. That's their Shabbos. And I have clients who are Chabad Rebbitzins, and everybody who's Jewish thinks that it's just normal that every weekend they're gaining weight and that that's just part of being Jewish. And it's not. It's not like, it's just not, and it doesn't have to be that way. And you can still have an amazing time and get the results that you want.
So listening to you, I'm like, we're in the Jewish Women Entrepreneurs podcast. And I think that you have something to say to each of those categories, like Jewish, women, and entrepreneur. I think like there's a story with, Jewish and food. There is a story behind women and their body. Can we talk about that? I mean, the whole love-hate story around women and their body. And there's also a story, which you also are very specifically focused on, between entrepreneurs and food, right? Like how do we use food and I mean, I don't know what, I know I use food. You're going to tell me why I do it. But I mean, there is a story between entrepreneurs and food, right? So you spoke about the Jewish and the food, which obviously I think anyone who knows anything about Judaism knows that when you're Jewish, you just talk about food. You have food everywhere. Like there's a party, there's food. If there's Shabbat, there's food. There's a holiday, there's food, right? It's like the whole cultural baggage. So you address that. But I think that there is also the whole story around women with their body, right? How do we look at our body? What does it mean to be skinny or not skinny or overweight? Or do we love ourselves? And we speak about self-worth. So there's this whole conversation that I would love for you to tell us, like, what is the status today? Because women want to be free, or they want to be, we talk about equality. We talk about, how they should be treated as men. But there are some things that are happening between a woman and herself that could never be compared to anyone else, that what we're, they're going through with their bodies. So I would love for you to talk about that. Like, what is the story between a woman and her body? What do you see from the clients that you have, and what is the work that you do around that?
So number one, I think that there is a really strong archetype for women, in that, especially once you hit motherhood, that you're the nurturer and all of your needs come second. So a lot of people struggle with their weight in their youth, but I really mostly focus on mothers. And so especially for women who have struggled with their weight at any time previously, once you become a mother, it never ends. Your kids could be 40. I have women who have grandchildren, and still when their kids come to visit with their grandchildren, they tell me, I can't make breakfast for myself until the kids have something on the table for them to eat. Like, there are these unspoken rules about what it means to be a good mother, and especially around food. And it very often translates to us as put yourself last. Take care of your husband by feeding him. Love your man to his stomach. Nourish your kids, treat your kids, make their favorite foods. Women come to me and ask for a meal plan. The first thing they want to know is, what am I feeding the kids for dinner? I'll get to me later.
Wow.
What am I giving the kids for dinner? Because it's stressing me out. And especially if they're working moms. So they'll eat just what's left over on the kids' plate. They'll grab a bowl of cereal 11 o'clock at night when they're done working, because they just didn't stop for lunch during the day because they were hustling as moms and hustling as women. And that also goes in your relationship to your body. When we are hustling all the time, we completely disconnect from how we feel. And when we don't know how we feel, then it's not going to be a good relationship. When you have your body on mute, there's 3 ways your body is going to respond. First, your body is going to respond by gaining some weight. If you don't listen, your body is going to respond by having burnouts, and you don't know why. You're stressed all the time. You're getting so much more anxiety. And if you still don't respond to that relationship with your body, that unconditional love, that connection, that nourishing, then your body's going to have a health crisis. And that's where we have, unfortunately, a lot of negative consequences that are stress and long-term effects of not taking care of our body. And that comes from how we see ourselves. When we see our value as only a reflection of how we take care of our families and how we take care of our business and how we take care of everybody else, then of course we'll last. If we see all those things as gifts from God that we were divinely created to enjoy, then of course you'd feed yourself first, because these children, this husband, this business is like a gift. So like you wouldn't be like, I'm not allowed to eat until I open this present. You'd like have the big breakfast, right? Get in the celebratory mood, and then you open your present. So it's a whole mindset shift to how we look at our life and ourselves and our worthiness.
Wow. Wow. So this is so much more than nutritionist. Like this is so much more than food or, meal plan. This is a whole lifestyle. This is like, I think every woman, me included, that I know can benefit from, because, if the kids are big, so then you put the business first, right? And then there's the menopause, which I'm sure that you speak about, where you gain weight differently, right? And then I know this is where I am at. My body is reacting differently because I'm at a different stage, and I'm like, all of a sudden, so I'm not losing the weight I used to lose before, right? So, there's so many, it touches at so many areas of our lives, which is not only, around food, but around really how do we look at ourselves, how we love ourselves, what the mindset, the beliefs that we have. I think this is like really, really important. And if we speak more about entrepreneurs, which is also the population that you're talking to, so tell us more about what are the habits that entrepreneurs, like what is the relationship between being an entrepreneur and eating healthy or not eating healthy? Like how is this meeting each other, the both of those worlds between being an entrepreneur and eating properly?
What's interesting? You've talked a lot about, the feminine, the power of the feminine in our business and telling our own stories. So, right, well, sometimes we step into the masculine for our business and we're like, okay, I'm going to hustle, I'm going to get it. But we're not hustling really like men, because we're still running all that motherhood baggage we just talked about. So now it's just like you said, another thing. And especially a lot of the women who are really scaling their business like I am are 35 plus, 45, 50. Like that's when you had time, if you're a mother, to really fully invest yourself in the next level. And so now you're momming hard and your business is a priority. And so we are not men with a wife behind us who is making sure that we eat and making and saying, oh, you want to go run a marathon? Of course you could take 3 hours off. Like how many men do they ask their wives when they want to run these Ironman competitions? No, they do not. They know that someone else is just going to join, like they're going to get support because it's a healthy endeavor. But a woman who wants to go to the gym for 30 minutes, it's like, I don't know. I got emails to send. Maybe I could listen to a podcast at the same time. Maybe I could get this work done. Maybe I can multitask it in. So moving and feeling connected to the body, really back burner. And I find that the women who I deal with have started in fitness. They've started to move. They've started to reconnect. And then they hit frustration because their nutrition isn't there. And so the more that they start to feel their body, they feel that their body is not responding like it did in their 20s with the 4 kids, or when they dropped maybe their first baby weight. Like now stress is on all the time, and just grabbing an apple or a smoothie or lowering the carbs isn't working. And they really are then don't have the energy that they need for their business. And so they're burning the midnight oil. They're sending that last email. They're following up with a client. They're, working on their irresistible offer. And they're uncomfortable in that moment. And they need to be visible and they need to put themselves out there. And so they grab a piece of chocolate and they wind down with that second glass of wine at night. And they're like, you know what? It's the weekend. It's Shabbos. Like, finally, I'm off the internet. I don't need to send any emails. I don't need to see any clients. Like, I'm going to exhale all of the tension I've been holding all week. And in its place, I'm going to put food. In many of the videos when you talk to entrepreneurs, you talk about we only are willing to hire and make more money when we have something to do with that money. Like when we have hobbies, we want to travel and we're ready to do those things, so we're ready to have more time. Well, it's the same thing. If you're thinking about having more time and you want to go on a vacation and you want to travel, do you want to fit in that airplane seat like comfortably? Do you want to get on that yacht that you earn the money for and like be wearing one of those white dresses and feel incredible in it and just not feel like you're carrying the baggage of the last 20 years on your body? You don't have to carry the scars of every win and loss in your business on your body. Instead, your body can be a beautiful map of the person you became through the process and continue to become as you evolve. And that's where I think the entrepreneur journey meets the road. It's in the stressful moments, every time we have to meet a new client, every time we disappoint ourselves and we get a no, every time, the way we have to learn to use a new tool or a new strategy, or we have a failure and like the product didn't sell and we feel rejected. You have to have other tools to deal with that stuff outside of food. Or when you finally get to the place you want to go, you're getting the 10K offer, but you're not at 3 meals a day. Like your imposter syndrome is going to rise up and you're going to sabotage because you don't really think you're worth it.
Right. It's so all connected. I'm listening to you and I'm hearing how it's all connected. I just had a aha moment listening to you because I've gone to people to tell me how to eat better. That's not my expertise, right? So and everyone says you shouldn't eat at night, right? I'm sure you say that as well. You shouldn't eat late. And I'm a late eater. That's how I call myself, which is, it doesn't mean it cannot change, but I eat late. And all of a sudden I'm listening to you, I'm like, okay, I understand why I'm eating late. It's because I'm postponing the whole day. I'm so busy with the business and with everything that I'm passionate about. Okay, great, you're passionate, but I'm not taking the time to eat properly because I've always said I don't like breakfast. I don't have time to eat lunch. And so I'm, getting to 8, 9 in the evening, and I'm like, well, now it's the time to eat because now. So I'm listening to you, and I'm like, oh, this is so resonating because I'm eating late because I'm just postponing because it's not important enough. That's what you're saying. You're saying there's no self-love here. It's not important enough, and I'm just postponing it. And if instead of course, taking time during the day and saying this is my priority right now. Doesn't matter what email or what, ever I'm doing in my business, I have to take time to eat. So I thank you for that. This is a big aha moment for me. Thank you for that. And before we move on to your program, because I want to talk about this amazing program coming up, I do want to talk about this whole thing around Shabbos, around Shabbat. Can you talk to us about what is this psychology? Because I feel like you really have a very really interesting understanding of what's happening around Shabbat and around how do we look at this special day during the week. Can you tell us more about how we women approach this and why do we gain weight on Shabbat, and how did you come up with this whole, which is a very interesting and original program idea or focus, right? And I would love for you to talk more about what is this relationship that we have with Shabbat and food. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, the purpose of Shabbat is God created the world in 7 days and then he paused. And so we are out having children, creating families, creating businesses, but we don't pause on Shabbat. We entertain, we go to events, we put pressure on ourselves. The house has to be its most clean, the food has to be its most creative, and we have to show it off to everybody. And there's a lot of structure and there's a lot of places you need to be, and your husband needs to be there, and the kids need everything. And so the spot that's supposed to be also for women to stop, to do all the mental thinking and pausing that we're supposed to do to really be the CEO of our lives and not just our businesses, is supposed to happen on Shabbat. That abundance where we leave Shabbat being like, I am so clear on what I want for myself this week. I have all the tools. I have all the support. I'm rested. I'm nourished. I'm ready to go. I connected with friends. Like our intentionality could be so abundant. And instead it's, I haven't cleaned the house all week because I've been working like crazy. So now I'm yelling at everybody and I'm disconnecting from my blessings, from my family, because let's get the house ready. Now I'm making like very complicated food and I'm making abundance of food. Now I barely cook during the week, right? Because I'm working, I'm a parent. So you better eat the food I make. And if there's food on the table, I'm going to overeat it because I haven't been eating 3 meals a day all week. This is my time to sit and eat. And I worked hard on this food. And I worked hard all week. So the only way to consume and feel abundant is to overconsume and overconsume instead of to just let it be. Like, oh, and I have leftovers for 3 days now because I just like basically meal prep. Like people cook, like they can't meal prep, but they basically meal prep an entire week's worth of food for Shabbos.
Right.
If they thought of it that way, like literally that's what you did. You have one family over and you cooked enough food to feed that family all week in like 3 hours. But God forbid you think about meal prepping on any other day of the week.
Right.
So, but you can use that. And like tonight, my kids are eating meat that I turned into a new dish from Shabbos. And it's like Monday night. And there's still chicken left, a whole chicken left from Shabbos, like rotisserie that'll be a dinner tomorrow. And like your Shabbos can lead to abundance for the whole week. Or you can come out of Shabbos like someone coming out of like a 3-day bender. Like, you're exhausted and you don't know why. Like you're like have a hangover from Shabbos, you're bloated, you don't feel good. And then you have to go be visible in your business. And now you need to look at your finances and you need to look at your spending and you need to look at your kids again. And you're like, can you just go to school? Right? And that's not how we want to live our lives.
I love it. I love it that you're talking about all those things that no one really talks about, right? It's like this underlying things that everyone knows, and everyone knows that, you know, of course you're going to be ready for Shabbos, but you're going to have a crazy Friday, right? That Friday is going to be so stressed and so tense, and everyone is going to be running around, and everyone is going to be like, oh, we have to get the house clean. We have to, you know, but in the meantime, you've lost a Friday because the whole Friday you're cooking and you're stressed for this. And I think we also have to address the fact that in Israel, at least, and I know a lot of people coming from abroad, we also feel like we don't have that Sunday, right? We don't have that day after the Shabbos where, you know, I mean, I remember it's a long time ago. It's 17 years ago. So it's not like I remember it was yesterday, but still like this idea that you have a day after Saturday to be able to, you know, just rest, just unwind. And here we don't have that. Sunday morning, we're back on the train.
So funny,
right?
Because that is such ole nostalgia, can I just tell you? Because I coach so many Americans and they're like, Saturday night, man, it's the hardest. I just want to eat pizza and ice cream because I don't have to go to work on Sunday. So like there's always the other side that we don't remember from when we actually had a Sunday, when all of the errands from our entire week are like left for Sunday, and the expectation of even how we're going to relax on Sunday is like so pressuring. You know, the only perfect answer is to have a process where we stop taking these things as they have to be failures. Like this is how life has to be, only to this level. And we start to live intentionally. And Shabbat is the perfect place when you're a very busy working mom, an entrepreneur, then it's very hard to ask yourself to do too much of this thinking and working during the week. You do have other priorities and areas that you're going. But when you invest Shabbos in yourself and your health and your growth, it pays dividends all week long. And you're really able to leverage, as God intended, work 7 days, like work 6 days, rest on the 7th, like take time to pause and realign with the work you're doing all week long. And stop accepting that life has to be this way. Like life does, even whether you have little kids or big kids, like if you choose to refine what you're doing intentionally, everything can transform.
Wow. I love it. This is like so much bigger than just what is the food that you eat, right? This is how you look at your life. This is what decisions you make, how you look at yourself. What is your lifestyle? Like this is such a huge opportunity to learn and to also to transform. So I want you to tell us all about this program that's starting end of January, because everything you're saying here, and you're inspiring, and I'm sure people are listening. I'm like, okay, how can I work with Lily? What is the next step? So tell us more. There's a program that is starting end of January. So tell us more about that.
So I created the Shabbat Ideal Weight Program, and then I created a group coaching. And through my group coaching, I take 5 people on this incredible journey, week by week, learning these foundations, learning how to be intentional, and having a small, intimate group of women who are going through it at the same time as you to discuss how they're improving and to learn from each other as we go through the modules, as we dive deeper into each concept, from entertaining, from how you start on Thursday night to get your Friday ready, to routines that we can have over Shabbos, to how we transition. And we have a whole section on transitions because Shabbat is all about transition. It's about transitioning into Shabbos. It's about the transition during the day. It's about transitioning out of Shabbos. And it's really an example for how we transition seasonally, how we transition through menopause. I talk about all that stuff in the context of Shabbos. And I had a few entrepreneurs in my first group, and we just ended up talking so much about these concepts. I decided to devote my next group coaching pod exclusively 5 spots for entrepreneurs. And I'm only opening spots for on January 1st. I have bonus content that's going to be running as people sign up, and we're starting in January. And it's really an opportunity to take everything you think you're doing for your business and realize that if you add the foundation of health and recharging over the weekend, you think you're scaling now. You don't even know how fast you're going to be able to move when you're replenished, and you can feel so confident that you have endless stores of energy and that you know how to restart every week fresh.
I love it. I love it. So guys, if you're listening to that and you want to join Lily for her special program dedicated to entrepreneurs, there's so much more to say around that. I think that you've just described the whole picture where everyone can recognize themselves, right? It doesn't matter if it's with the the food or with the kids or with Shabbos or with the business. I think every woman listening to that can really see themselves, and I definitely saw myself, and I think that you're doing amazing work that has such a great impact and is so needed, because we need the work of all those women entrepreneurs. And if they don't take care of themselves, then their gifts are not going to be shared. And then, the ripple effects, we won't have all those ripple effects. So thank you so much for
the worst thing that would break my heart is if these women have that business success and close their doors because they had that breakdown. And they have that entrepreneurial story instead of the one where they get to have the sell of their business or transform their company or retire or pay for their kids' weddings or pay for their kids' first apartment. Like, let's choose to have that because you had the sustainability versus the story that you had this 7-figure business and then you closed the doors from a breakdown and had to start it from the beginning. Like, we all know that's another story, and we don't want that to happen.
Nope. We don't. And for that, we have to take care of ourselves and our bodies and the way we treat our, food and our lifestyle and everything else around it. So thank you so much, Lily. I'm so happy that you came to this podcast and you shared your wisdom with us. And we'll put the link to the program if people want to join. I know it's the end of January, so we have a few more weeks until you can start this. Thank you so much. Continue to do your great work and continue to shine your light in the world. And thank you. I'm so happy our paths are crossing and that we're on this journey together. Thank you so much, Lily.
I get so much from you and the coaching and community, and I'm excited to keep going. Thank you, and for giving me the tools to bring this to the world.
Wow. Thank you. So grateful. Thank you. Sending you so much love and wishing everyone a happy end of 2021. And we're going to welcome 2022 and we're going to be excited. Thank you, Lily. And thank you, everyone. See you next week for another episode of the Jewish Women Entrepreneurs Podcast.